When you're in the grocery store and you buy something that says all natural, you think that, well, maybe it was grown in a place like this, an orchard or a garden. But when you look closely on the back and you look at the ingredients, even though they might be naturally grown, they may be loaded with all sorts of additives and preservatives. Kind of misleading, don't you think? So in today's show, I thought we might do is explore some true natural solutions to things that you may be considering around the house. So I thought we'd get started with some eco-friendly ways to deal with pests in just a bit. An effective way to garden organically is to use predatory insects like ladybugs. You see, these little bugs love to feast on aphids, which are not good to have in your garden. And while most people know what a ladybug looks like, you might be surprised by their appearance prior to adulthood. You see, they begin life as a cluster of tiny eggs found on the underside of leaves. After about 5 days, the ladybug larvae hatch from their eggs, looking more like tiny spiky aliens than the beautiful insects they become. They'll remain in this state for about 3 weeks, molting and searching for food, like tiny mites or aphids. Now in the pupa stage, the ladybug begins to appear more like its lovely adult self. At this point, they attach themselves to a plant leaf or other surface. Then they curl up, stop eating, and may change color. What emerges after about a week are the beneficial bugs we all know and love. So if you see ladybugs at any stage in their life cycle, whatever you do, don't use pesticides near them. These little beauties are nature's answer to take out those nuisance insects. Now, my friend Bill Lubick certainly understands how beneficial certain insects can be. In fact, he tells us more about this over at the Rutgers Earth Center.
Hi, I'm Bill Lubick, and I'm with Rutgers Cooperative Extension and the New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station. And we're here at our beautiful butterfly house in South Brunswick, New Jersey at the Earth Center. And one thing to remember is that insects can be a great thing for your garden and for your landscape. So it's not always a bad idea to keep insects out. We want to try to invite the good insects into our garden to help us to be able to control a lot of other problems. The most important thing is to have an ecological balance within our landscape and within our garden. So what we try to do here is we try to plant plants that will actually attract all the beneficial insects like yarrow, and you see bronze fennel next to me. All these plants provide an ideal environment to attract beneficial insects and to keep them in the area. So they help us to be able to control some of the deleterious or harmful insects that will do harm to our garden or our landscapes. Having plants that they love, like yarrow and milkweed, especially if you're going to attract butterflies, and butterfly plants, butterfly weed like Asclepia, flowering plants, the nectar-type plants that they're attracted to. It will really bring in a wealth of beneficial insects, and kids have a lot of fun identifying moths and butterflies. Some things to remember are to provide places where the insects can get shelter, where they can get water, even just having a small container that has some stones in it and some water, and refresh that water once in a while. The earlier that you can catch the problem by using the beneficial insects, the greater the chances of success that the beneficials are going to be able to keep up with the harmful insects. If you wait until the problem becomes extremely severe, then you're going to have a problem where the beneficial insects simply can't keep up with the exploding populations of aphids. So if you have environments that are mixed and very diverse, that can really help you in trying to control organically a lot of your pest problems that you may have within your garden and landscape.
Coming up next, keeping moths at bay without the smell of Grandma's attic. Ugh. And later, a guacamole recipe with a powerful punch. Stay with us as Garden Style continues. How many times have you gone to your closet and you've discovered that one of your favorite wool sweaters has been chewed on by a rascally moth? I hate that when that happens. There are some things you can do to help protect your wardrobe from being munched on by moths. Now let's set the record straight. It's really not the moth that is doing the munching. You see, the moth gets in your closet, that tiny little space, it gets all snuggy and feels really good, and it begins to lay some eggs. The eggs hatch. The larva pops out, and the larva's hungry, and it's the larva that's munching on your sweater or any of your woolens. So what you want to do is you want to try to mask your woolens. You want to try to confuse that moth so she doesn't lay her eggs on your clothes. And you can do that by using a variety of different herbs. Mix them together, mixes her up, she doesn't lay eggs, everything's cool. So you can use things like lavender, you can use cedarwood shavings, cloves, any kind of citrus rind, dried rosemary is very good, eucalyptus, mint, even cinnamon sticks. Now these are all in the dried form, but you can also use the essential oils of some of these, which will really intensify that aroma in your closet. Not only are you going to keep the moth away, you're going to make your clothes and your closet smell really, really good. So let me show you a simple recipe using two of my favorite herbs. We're going to start with 1 part lemon rind. You can get this at the grocery store, dried of course. 1 part lavender. You don't have to be exact with this. These are lavender blooms that are dried, and 1 part rosemary. Those are my two favorite herbs, lavender and rosemary. You can't go wrong with that. Then add a few cloves. Look at these whole cloves. Mix those in. And then I'm going to bump it up with some cedar wood. Essential oil of cedar wood. I'm going to put about 15 drops of cedar wood oil in here, and then I'm going to add a little lavender. And that's about 15 drops of lavender. And I'm going to mix all that together. And now, oh, I just wish you could smell that. This will keep a moth away. Now, you can take these little sachet bags. You can pick these up at your local craft store, and you just fill them up and then place them in your closet. Bye-bye moths. Give it a try. After the break, a green solution for a broad range of plant diseases. No, you don't, you diseases. Go pick on someone your own size. I just love these little guys and I want to protect them because plants don't live in a vacuum. They're not hermetically sealed. They're out in the real world where they're going to run into things like powdery mildew, late blight, and bacterial wilt. Now, there are natural solutions that you can use to help keep these diseases from running amok and keep them spreading throughout your plants. The first thing I want you to consider is water smarter. You see, don't spray water all over the foliage of the plants. What happens is you're creating an environment for disease. Disease loves moist areas. So what you want to do is you want to keep the soil moist. Use a soaker hose or a drip system like this where the soil stays moist but not the leaves. Next, if it's diseased, it's done. Cut that contaminated stuff right off and don't compost it because that's just an open invitation for those diseases to come back. Lastly, use an organic fungicide as soon as you see a problem developing. Soak the tops and bottoms and the undersides of the leaves, stems, and the ground around the plant. Because let me tell you, disease is everywhere, and these little guys, well, they need your protection. Don't you? Oh, I wouldn't let those nasty diseases get you. No, you're my favorites. Lots more garden style ahead, including this delicious recipe. You know, fertilizer is essentially food for plants. You want to make sure that they're supplied with the essential elements they need to grow big and strong, like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay, since there isn't a fertilizer tree from which bags of fertilizer grow, there is a natural option. It's organic fertilizer. You see, you can deliver all of the nutrients that your plants need through these natural ingredients. For instance, there's manure. Now, do I really need to explain this one? While every animal produces it, you know, it's really the manure from livestock and poultry we use in fertilizing our gardens. Then, of course, we have ground meals of certain types, like bone meal, blood meal, and also fish meal. You see, bone meal provides a great source of natural phosphates, whereas blood meal and fish meal are great for adding natural nitrogen. Now, another component to making organic fertilizer is compost, which is simply decayed plant material. In compost, you're going to get some of those macronutrients that we talked about. Now, I don't want to oversimplify the process, but think about it this way. All of these ingredients we've talked about dumped into one big bowl where it ages, ripens, if you will, and then it's dried and granulated and bagged. What's great about this is it cuts down on the smell, and it makes it a lot easier to apply to your plants. So if you think about organic fertilizers, one like Job's Organics with Biosome, it's kind of a superhero in the garden. Not only does it help your plants grow big and strong, it may also make sure that the health of the soil is there, because that is really important to get those plants to perform the way you want them to. When I have friends over, I want to give them something to nibble on, a little snack, but I want it to be healthy. I'd like to introduce you to this recipe that my friend Amy Valpone and I made together. It is a spinach guacamole dip. It's what she calls a power food. Amy, I love following your food blog, and I have to say, your recipe for guacamole is extraordinary. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Of course, thank you. We've got a unique spin on this class. Spinach guacamole actually is filled with tons of power foods. Actually, we're putting hummus in it today, which is going to add some nice protein.
Now, you really believe in the power of foods.
I do. I actually healed myself with food, which is pretty incredible.
We were talking about inflammation. Let's talk a little bit about these omega-3 acids and how they can help reduce inflammation.
Right. So, you know, I use foods like this every day, whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, and, you know, recipes like this are so easy. I mean, fighting it with these omega-3s and all these healthy ingredients, like, you know, the avocado, and we'll put all this in. We're going to add the spinach and avocado in here now. So we have 3 ripe avocados. You always want to make sure they're nice and ripe. We've got 1/4 cup of red onion, and 1/4 cup of the fresh cilantro, and 1/4 cup of spinach. And we need 3 avocados, so we're going to add in what we have left right there on the cutting board.
Right, so we have 2 in there now, and I'll add this one, which will make 3. All right.
And then I'm going to put in just juice of 1 lemon. Make sure you take all those pits out so you don't get some nice pits in your guacamole. Right. It's not what you want. And
lemon seeds are not a power food.
It's so true, but you know what I do use from the lemon that's pretty amazing is lemon zest. And it adds amazing, amazing flavor. And then with these leftovers, I just put them in a nice ice water and it adds great flavor. So you're kind of using up everything, right?
That's right, I like that. Yeah, the lemon gives it a real spark, doesn't it?
It does, and my biggest spark is the hummus that I use. So I use about 1/2 cup of just plain hummus.
That is what is so interesting about this recipe.
Yeah, and it's great protein too. I mean, I have a lot of clients who are vegetarian or vegan, or they just want to cut down on their meat intake or whatever it may be.
And so they lean on hummus.
Exactly, because it's a power food, you know?
Those garbanzo beans are fantastic.
Oh my God, I know. It's just so nice and silky. So this is our lemon zest, like I was saying. We're just going to sprinkle that on in.
All right.
And then this is the organic flax oil. So we've got our omega-3s right there. I love, look at how
Another
beautiful.
source of them.
It's like that gorgeous yellow color. You know you're getting good quality.
It is gorgeous.
And these are the flax seeds I was telling you about. So we're going to use a teaspoon of these. Now, flax seeds, you can always use, you know, a teaspoon to a half a teaspoon. It's not going to make it too chunky. They're not chunky like a sunflower seed because they're ground. But if you don't like the consistency, you can always use a half a teaspoon.
I love the way you cook because you're going a little of this, a little of that.
I know, and I usually never measure. I'm kind of a pincher. You just pinch and kind of go.
And I think the more you spend time in the kitchen, the more comfortable you get with these sorts of things.
So true. Sometimes I make a recipe and I'm like, what did I put in that? Because I just kind of grab it.
Right.
And I always love using chili powder. It just adds a nice little kick to it.
It does.
So I'm just going to use
just a little heat.
Half a teaspoon.
Half a teaspoon, okay, right.
And then scallions. So I use 3 fresh scallions. And I know we already used red onion, but I'm like, you know what? Why not add a little bit more
There you go.
flavor and just a little bit of heat without too much.
There you go, live large. And what about the tomatoes here?
Yep, we're going to put them in. So that's just a pint of grape tomatoes.
Yep.
A lot of people use cherry tomatoes.
Just pour them in?
Pour them right in.
All right.
Put it right in there. And then, of course, we've got the salt and pepper. So I usually just kind of, you know, go with my finger and do it. But I, you know, this recipe I like to use about a half a teaspoon of salt and pepper.
Look how beautiful this is.
Isn't that great? It almost looks like a chunky pico de gallo, right?
It is fabulous.
If you don't like it chunky, you can use a mashed potato like you do on Thanksgiving.
Right.
Just take it and mash it up a little bit more.
You would mash it up before you added the tomatoes.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then, I mean, this is great on top of toast in the morning or a salad for lunch. One of the greatest things I think that's nice and easy is you can just take it and put it on like a tortilla, corn tortilla, or you know, a whole wheat gluten-free, and then
And
just
this will keep
wrap
in
it
the
up.
fridge for several days.
And it's protein, so you don't need to add, you know, a chicken or a fish or anything. I mean, you can if you want to.
Healing yourself through food.
Yeah.
Garden Style returns just after the break. I have to say, I never tire of being inspired by the way Mother Nature consistently helps us out. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, atom by atom, little by little, Mother Nature achieves her work. I hope you can find ways to let Mother Nature achieve some work in your garden. Until next time, for Garden Style, I'm Alan Smith. Oh, I wouldn't let those nasty diseases get you. No, you're my favorites. Beautiful, aren't they? Just keep growing.
Okay, and action.
Oh, no, you don't. Nasty. What's the line? Oh, no, you don't, you diseases. Go pick on someone your own size. I just love these little guys and I want to protect them.
Adding in these omega-3s, I mean, it does wonders, and it fights the inflammation inside your body,
Yeah.
which is really what's becoming, you know, everyone is so worried about where your food's coming from anymore. You know, your grass-fed meat and your organic eggs and your poultry, you know, wherever it is, you always want to make sure everything is organic, so you're getting the best source possible.